Hey Money Guy family, it's your host Brian Preston and Mr. Bo Hansen back for another episode of Ask the Money Guy.
It's Brian Preston, the Money Guy.
This is from Christian. So, I just started listening to your show and absolutely love it. Thanks, Christian. I listen via podcast and think the content you cover is great. My question has to do with net worth statements. Those are some of our favorites. I have heard you guys talk a lot about the importance of these and what a great tool they can be to providing perspective on how your financial world has grown over time. I'm 24, just paid off my student loans earlier this year, which was $32,000, which is huge.
That's
good
incredible.
for you. I carry no debt aside from my credit card that I pay off in full every month. I contribute a healthy amount to my company 401k, contribute to my Roth, have an emergency fund established, and I'm now gearing up for a wedding.
Wow,
Congratulations. As I recently just got engaged. My fiance and I will be saving for this on our own. No help from parents or grandparents. My question is, throughout these next 24 months or so while I'm saving towards the wedding, should I be including this amount on my net worth statement? Also, how often do you recommend compiling a net worth statement? I was thinking monthly, but I'm interested for your perspective. Thanks so much for your input.
Man, Christian, that's a great email, or I guess going to the website and listen to us, contact us. Here's the thing, I want to answer this in several ways. The first thing, the question of, do you list this on your net worth statement? By all means, when we talk about the army of dollar bills, I'm expecting you to make sure you account for every one of them. So when you do your net worth statement, by all means put this on there. And here's the purpose of that. In addition to you having a great place of checking it and it's not getting lost or overlooked or misplaced, it's also going to help you that when it's time to start spending on that wedding, you're going to see that you're pulling from those army of dollar bills, and it might keep you a little more honest or a little disciplined on what you're actually spending and is it worth it. Because I feel like a lot of times, when people are doing wedding planning, other things, since it's other people's money, OPM, you just go hog wild and you're not thinking about that this is a dollar that could be something really valuable down the road.
Right.
Now, full disclosure, I had not a huge wedding. I had an average wedding based upon what everybody spends, because I think we spent $19,000, which back in 1998 was probably a decent chunk of money. But you do need to think about it in those terms, so you pay attention to every dollar you spend.
I'm going to add on to that just a touch, because I think one thing that's really interesting is whenever I do my net worth statement, whenever I tell people to do theirs, I always like to err on the side of keeping it conservative.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I do is I think about money that I'm saving. Am I saving for a prepaid future expense?
Yep.
So a wedding would fall into that. Well, a wedding, while it's going to add tremendous value to your life, it's not necessarily an asset. Same way as saving for college for your kids. While it's a tremendous asset to their lives, it's not an asset to you, it's a liability, it's an expense. Health savings accounts are the same way. It's a prepayment of future medical expenses. So one of the things that I do is if I'm saving money for an expense, I know that's money that's going to be spent in the future, I actually don't put it in my asset or liability column on my net worth statement. I put it in the footnotes. So that way it's not artificially increasing what my net worth is, because in my mind, those dollars are already spent. Now, I do agree with Brian. If you save up $50,000 for a wedding, but you only end up spending $20,000, that $30,000 in the year that you move it from the footnote to the asset side is going to be huge, and I think that's something worth noting.
See, this is how you can tell we don't prepare this stuff, is because I completely disagree with my partner, is that I think you should put it under, I was going to say, one of the things I forgot to cover is the fact that this money, since it's an expense that you know is coming within the next 24 months, it should stay as a liquid asset.
Sure.
So I would put this under cash and equivalents, and then you could also, because you're not going to do anything that's more risky than that, and then you could put a footnote on the cash and equivalents liquid category and say that this portion is reserved for the wedding, but still it lets you count those assets, see them in your total asset number, and that way it hurts a little bit more as you give it away. Now, the second part of your question, how often should you do a net worth statement? And I feel good about this because me and Bo just disagreed about your last question, so it's nice to close this show out with that we agree upon something. Is that I think we should do it annually. Now, Bo, you also agree with that, so give your reasoning.
I do, and this is my unique personality type is I hate ruining surprises.
Yep.
So I was one of those kids where whenever I knew that my parents had gone Christmas shopping and I knew that the presents were somewhere in the house, I would purposely avoid places that I thought they might be. And I still do this today with my wife because I hate ruining surprises. So one of my biggest surprises every year I get to do is when I do my net worth statement, I get to actually see what the number is. I get to see how the assets changed, how the liabilities changed, how the net worth changed. And I love that. If I were doing it more frequently than annually, every month I'd be stealing a little bit of that joy from the end of the year.
Well, and, I think we got there two different ways, but it's the same answer. And the fact that I like doing it annually because it's no different than watching a pot of water trying to boil.
Yeah.
Is that if you are watching something, if you're looking at it monthly, I'm worried that you don't give yourself an opportunity to have the benefit and see the change of your behavior. When I do it annually, I mean, it is amazing to chart the growth of the assets, the either growth or reduction of debt, hopefully reduction, and
yeah.
It's fun to see that. And then you can also track, you start putting all kind of cool graphs on there and how much is your liquid assets growing, how much is your debt going down. If you're looking at it monthly, I think that it becomes ho-hum, just part of your consistent behavior. Now, full disclosure, we have a whole family of super bright people that are part of the Abound family and the Money Guy family that are super successful. And I think that they are so OCD that they would be lost if they weren't looking at this monthly.
That's right.
But purposefully, I like the emotional high I get from doing the net worth.
One small additional benefit to doing this annually. You mentioned that you just got engaged, which is awesome. There's a chance that your spouse may just not be into finance the same way that you are. I know that for my wife, when we sit down to do our net worth statement every year and we go over the numbers, it's easy for me to get buy-in from her once a year. I don't know that I would be able to do it once a month.
So one last resource I want to give out on the show. This is a freebie. You didn't ask for this, Christian, but you're getting married. Back in 2012, we did an spectacular show. I mean, I even get so choked up I can't even talk. What was the title of it, Bo?
It was on April 27th of 2012, and it was titled Love and Marriage, ... and Finances.
Now, why is that date so important?
So my wife and I actually got married in June of 2012. So this show was just a few months before we said our vows. And just so you know, back then, I had marriage all figured out. I knew exactly how finances were going to work. I knew how husbands and wives looked at money, and I was prepared to hit the ground running.
If I was creating a greatest hits album, that would definitely be on there. It's a great show, great resource for you, Christian. And then here's the rest of the story. You can go follow up in 2013. What was the date on that show, Bo?
It was actually June 14th of 2013, so just a few days after my anniversary.
We had a 1-year follow-up where we got to go back and check in with Bo after 1 year of marriage and see how wrong he was about the way the dynamics of his relationship with his wife would work. So, Christian, that's my wedding gift to you. Go check out those marriage and money episodes, and I think you'll be very well served, and you'll be set up to have a successful marriage, relationship, and especially making sure finances don't create that wedge that I think happens for a lot of couples. So a lot of you are listening to this, and you're like, wow, he just answered his questions, and it was all free. He actually gave some nuggets of advice there. What's the catch with this whole thing? There is no catch. Our only ask of you is if you found something valuable and you start going and looking at our other content. We just shared 2 other shows that are really good. I want you to like our content. I want you to subscribe to our content. But I also want you to become part of the Money Guy family where you check it in from time to time. And once you get to a level of success that you realize I need a co-pilot, I need a professional to look at this, that you'll give us a chance. Pay us back at that point by letting us look over your shoulder and give you a second opinion on what's going on. Take the relationship to the next level.
If you have a question, go out to your favorite social, use the hashtag #AskTheMoneyGuy, or go to our website, ask a question, and you may hear your question answered right here in the Model 3.
I'm your host, Brian Preston. Mr. Bo Hansen. We'll talk to you soon.